All right, good evening, everyone. This video is going to be a trading review and support session for May the 18th, 2022. It's important to kind of recognize what was going on at the start of the day and then ultimately recognize what the market was doing. So let's do that. Let's look at the big picture chart and the daily. All right, so this is the big picture chart after we finished today, and it was a big old down day. But when we started the day, it was already deeply, deeply red, right? So it started the day, and we'll take a look at that big picture chart. It just got worse as the day went on. A couple of reasons for that. We talked about it this morning. Walmart had the previous day reported earnings, and they missed it and guided downward. And then Target missed their earnings. They announced it yesterday. Missed their earnings and also guided downward, and their stock took a real bath. So the retail is not doing too well right now. But let's take a look at the big picture chart to see. It was pretty much down all the way, even in the overnight. So had a good up day right yesterday. This was the big green candle, and it pretty much just never really gained any traction and was going down, down, down. So this was about the London Open right here, right? And it was still going down. Came back up to the then daily bias. It was just all the way down, right? So you have to be careful on these very, very large ranging days. You can't have a strong opinion one way or another, right? So you gotta keep this in mind. And I know I was talking about it this morning because I took a long trade early, right? But I said when I took it, I said, "Oh man, I'm going to have to watch this," right? So let me kind of review some new things here a little bit because Hossein is in and haven't been in here. So this is new software. I haven't sent it out yet. So today was the first day I showed all of it, but I've been showing this new. Um, Everything I'm doing these days is relative to faster analysis, so faster speed. So with the last update, I increased the speed of UltraFlex and FastFlex, and in this update, I'm going to be increasing the speed of what we normally used to call the midline. So here's the old midline up here, right? So that's based on 5 minutes. The new one is based on 3 minutes. I'm pretty comfortable with this decision. I've been looking at it for some time, and I finally put it into the indicator, and I'm using it in my trading decisions. And this whole area is a really good example of why it's better. Even though, right, we had to make sure we're doing it on my own trading short. I'm not going to even be showing the midline, right? Um, and so, but I was requested to put it in so that you could compare, which is a good idea, right? So over time, if you want to have it there, you can have it, no problem. But the majority of the trading decisions should be based around, in terms of the extent of movements, etc., should be based around the 3 minute and not the 5 minute. Yes, it will stop, as we know. The market will stop sometimes at 5 minute as support and or resistance. That's fine. So if you want to have it on there, that's perfectly fine. But for trend and what's really going on, the 3 minute is better. Okay, so then let's talk about this early market trading. And remember, the market was down quite a bit. 3 minutes coming down, and the midline is coming down. And it was kind of trying to hold on to these areas, right? And it's kind of popping up. Excuse me. So I decided it wasn't really hitting it on the selling side too much. So I actually decided to try it here. right, as it was popping back over the 2x20. Now, the only reason I decided to try it is because I actually had space to get out prior to the 3 minute, right? And I know you don't have this on your chart, but this is what I was talking about. Um, so I no longer, I used to, maybe take this trade thinking that maybe it can get up close to the midline. I'm not even going to be thinking that in that way anymore until and unless it actually gets on makes a buying move on the other side of the 3 minute. So I'm essentially ignoring the 5 minute for that purpose. All right, so it doesn't go with me, and it kind of comes back down and tests this area, and so I added to it. But at the same time, I was saying, I'm going to be watching this. And I remember saying, I'm not going to stick with this forever. Right now, as it turns out, so I had two. As it turns out, with this ad, I was able to get out around the 2x20, right? And it did ultimately come up to the 3 minute, moving average, right? And then it got rejected. Came up again, wouldn't break it, right? Didn't even make a new high, right? So alert, you did not make a new high in the 3 minute it's holding. Now, I mean, it's early in the morning and everything is really, really, really tight. So it's likely going to break out in one direction or another, but it refused to make a new high. So let's say you had taken, let's see, either I didn't get out, let's say that, right? I mean, I would have gotten out even on this entry if I hadn't have added it because it ultimately did come up. But let's say I'm long for whatever reason. Let's say I'm long. All right. And we're at the 3 minute average, and I understand you don't have this yet, but the 3 minute average is very important. So and it's hanging on, and then right we're getting the flexes aligned in the short direction, which is what this new indication is, right? You're going to see that a lot, right? So it's not necessarily in and of itself an entry marker. It's just like an early indication that these faster flexes are aligned, right? And you can see the paint bars are magenta. We're breaking down under the minute average, the 2x20, and the EMA, right? So now it has broken down to the other side. And now we've got an expansion, right? So we're late enough, right? So you don't see any other expansions. Let me double check. I guess there was an expansion here when I took this first trade. There was an up expansion that's hiding behind the arrows, which probably influenced me. I heard the expansion. It was breaking through the 2 minute 2x20, and so I took that trade. But I didn't necessarily like it, and I was lucky to get out. But let's say, all right, I'm still in it. Now we're breaking down out of everything, right? And the whole market is negative, right? And market's down. This highlighted box is for an optimal entry area. These weren't optimal entries. I was kind of pushing it. But this one has started to, because it's really starting to break down here. And so if you were long, this kind of a cyan kind of a box is the world telling you you're on the wrong side, right? And it's even making new lows. So it crashed down through the Globex low, right? And it's making all session lows. So you just can't hang on to a trade forever, right? And I would have certainly bailed if I hadn't gotten out. I mean, I was out a long time ago. I would have certainly bailed on the trade in reverse. At least I hope I would have, if I hadn't have gotten out. So, but anyway, so I got out here. I did take this entry here, right? And so I was up there. So let's kind of scroll through and just see how bad this is. Huge move down, right? So even if you were trying to, let's say you were trying to hold on, right? And I did because it was significantly under the also I didn't I'll mention this as well. It's still relatively early, but these yellow dash lines are the average true range of the 3 minute candle. So as you can see, it's a channel. It's called a Keltner channel. Now in the morning, they're going to be pretty close, right? Because the 3 minute the bars are not very big, but it's way down on the ATR, right? So another indication that it's really not happy. Now I ended up and when it's really underneath there, it's a possibility that you can take a little bit of a short trade, um, if it's breaking, if it's on its way back and above the 3 minute close. So I took a little trade here. I only took it for 1 point, I believe, and I was out of that trade. Okay, so let's continue on because I think the next trade coming up again was a long entry that I didn't stick with, right? So here I am. I mean, market's pretty far down. I'm trying, and it's trying to be an up bar, right? And it did close up, and I was going to take another little trade here, and try to get out prior to yesterday's low, right? And so, but I'm watching it closely, and I'm just not going to hang up because I am. I mean, look, the big picture is coming down, right? The big picture is coming down. So I am trying to bargain a little bit, maybe try to squeeze a little bit of a point out, but I'm just not going to hang out forever. So I ended up reversing about here, right? Because it's back, it's really not doing anywhere. It's running away from now the 3 minute close. It didn't even hardly tick up at all from the 3 minute close. So I reversed, right? It popped up just a little bit, right? I added to it so I could get out earlier, and I was out. Now, I could have gotten out anyway, even if I had not have added. And maybe sometimes I add too quickly, but that's just me, and I'm trying to get out. Now, but as you see, there's even another scenario here, right? Everything's moving down. It's underneath the 3 minute close. It came back up close, right? But it couldn't even get back up to yesterday's low. And now we're getting expansions, right? Expansions down, expansions down. So I was out here, but realistically, I could have probably taken another trade in here. I don't think I did. I don't see any arrows, right? So if you were long way back in here, right? Let's say you were long in what would it have been? Let's call it, even the 39.5 area, right? This is 10 points. This is a pretty big move. These big ranging days, you really have to stay on top of it because it's really a big ranging kind of days, and fighting it too much is just not a good idea. Maybe adding to get out earlier, right? If you think you're on the correct side of the market, but not fighting it. I have given up big time fighting. At least I have tried to. And so if the trade is not working out and I'm taking too many risks, I'll just reverse. And I think that was the last long trade I did. So at the end of the day, I was down one tick on my long trades, right? And I just kept piling up profits as the day went on with short trades. I did, add, like one or two, maybe up to three units, but that's about all I had on throughout the day. All right, so I reversed and I'm out. It's coming into, I'm in coffee break time, and look, it's still telegraphing I'm not happy. So these trades are totally just not worth it. Yeah, I mean, so which one is actually going to pop a little bit? I don't know, and I don't care, right? I'm just going to sit back and around and wait for it to do what it's really the trend is doing, right? So I ended up, and this is coffee break time, so I ended up taking a trade anyway because this is pretty compelling, right? This is pretty compelling. It's again, It popped up a little bit. That's underneath the 3 minute close. It's breaking back down underneath the EMA, right? So it took a trade there and it worked. And even late, right? And this was late. I was just going to take one trade maximum during the push time frame going into 7 o'clock, even though we didn't have 7 o'clock news today. It was just not happy. And so very consistent. I could have, would have, should have maybe even got in earlier, but I just kind of looked up and recognized how consistently down it was. And I took one more trade to the downside. All right, so it took two short trades going into the 7 o'clock time frame. All right, so it's coming in at 7 o'clock. It's going up. I don't care. Don't care. I mean, I don't know if it's going to stop here. No, let me emphasize this point. Right. I mean, I'm not magic. I don't know if it's going to stop here, or if it's going to and come back down. So I'm ignoring all of this. Right. Now it's above here. I don't know if it's going to stop here, right, and come straight back down at the EMA. So you have to get a very lucky, precise entry, right? I don't care, right? So all right, so now it's back up above the EMA and that's the minute average. I'm not going to take a trade. I mean, I'm definitely. Let me switch to black. I'm definitely not interested in taking trades in the fast zone, right? It's also just kind of unpredictable, right? So it may make it up into the middle or even to the top, but not going to do it. So it makes it up to the fast zone, right? It looks like it's being rejected. So I was probably just a little bit early on this one, right? It was kind of breaking back down underneath the EMA. So I took a trade and then didn't quite work. So I popped up and I added to it probably too soon, right? Because my entry wasn't that different. And I think this is yet another entry. Let me look on my chart. This is 705 because it looks like, yeah, I did have three. So I added there, and this is also an entry. So kind of clustered, right? But I was able to. I mean, I would have gotten out anyway, but I didn't have to fight it as I was out of all three before that low, right? Oops, now I need to switch back to yellow. So, so let's talk about this for a minute. Let's say I didn't get out, right? What would I have done? Well, it's a little bit after 7. I would have hated life, right? I mean, it did go somewhat against me, right? I would have hated life, but as it comes up, so I would have probably been, seeing how much it was going to hurt had it made it up to the 2x20, right? I would have been looking to evaluate that, but the market hasn't been really too happy, right? So as just kind of randomly stopped here, right, at this 3-minute close. So here's this is the second 3-minute close. So this is so in a down market that may be about all I can do. So here's 1 and there's 2, right, and it stopped it just stopped dead, right? So if I was in a long trade, if I was in a short trade and it stopped like this, right, and it's rolling over and breaking it, I would have in all likelihood, added to it so that I could have gotten out earlier, right? As it turns out, I'm not going to initiate a trade up in here because I'm not working a trade, right? I won't say defending. I'm not working a trade. I'm flat. So I'm going to try to get a little bit better clue, and I'm going to see if it's really going to break back down out of the fast zone and the EMA. And it did, and I took the trade and got out of that trade. As it turns out, I probably, and sometimes I just get busy talking and or writing down my profit or something. So I got out here. In reality, right, it bounces back up into this area. I could have probably taken another trade. And I took it too late, right? And so I took it too late down here. I'm still going with the trend, right? But it bounces back up into this area. I still got all the indications that this is a down market, right? A down market. So I added to it here, right? Because it got pretty close to the EMA and now it's being rejected again. But I'm working the trade. I don't think I would have initiated a trade here, but now I'm working this trade. And I want to get it off of this all session low, right? And so adding to it here, right, allowed me to pull it up, and then I was out of both units here with profit. All right, so it's going up. I don't care, right? Everything is pointing to the downside, right? So I just find this completely and totally unreliable. Let's put it that way, right? So where it's going to stop in a downward market, who knows, right? But in a bad downward market, and the market was really down at this particular point, these are just going to be opportunities of people to, this is just a bounce, right? And these are going to be opportunities for people to lighten up their load, right? So I'm still pretty focused on the downhill side. It comes up here, just barely makes it up out of the 2x20, right? Breaking again. So here's the analysis again, breaking down under the 3 minute, not taking a trade in the fast zone, right? Breaks back down under the EMA and the minute average, and yet another time, right? I probably am not quite patient enough on my entry, so I'm entering down here. It pulls back into the fast zone. The entire market is still coming down. It hasn't given me any reason to doubt it, right? This one I probably should not have added here because it's really pretty close to my entry, and it's kind of into the minute average. But then it came back up again, made a lower high, pretty big bar down, so I added it again, and I'm down. I'm out on the move down underneath the minute average. Now, as it turns out, right, if I had just stuck with it, right, I would have been out anyway. But I'm working the trade. I'm not letting it go too far against me. I'm working the trade, and I usually get a little bit more profit. I ask for a little bit more profit than if I just had one trade, one entry. But you got to watch it because it does add a little bit to the risk. I don't care anything about anything in these up moves, right? I mean, you're essentially would be trying to buy into the 3 minute moving average, right? And these are kind of like breakouts anyway on a down trade. Really, just don't care. So I'm waiting for the continuation. So again, here's another one, right? Probably pushed it a little bit too soon, right? Added to it for me, probably a little bit too soon. My finger gets pretty happy when I think I know what the direction of the market is, and I'm out. Now, in reality, if I had just been a little bit patient to confirm its breakdown of the fast zone, right? Here's the high probability area again, right? With the push down of the flexes being aligned. You see the arrows there. Everything's magenta. Ultraflex coming down, and out it goes. That was my last trade of the morning. No, it wasn't, because here's another one. Well, that's what I thought it was. Oh yeah. Okay, so one more trade. So I should move this over. So that was my last trade, and it was, everything was really tight together, and so that was there. Let me go back and check, make sure really. Yeah, I really did take that trade. So that was the last trade of the day. Let me move this over. And so I was up 17 and a quarter points gross. Perfectly fine morning. Wasn't really planning on trading in the afternoon, but it was just continued to be a down day. So I ended up trading in the afternoon and more than doubled gross profit. So I ended the day up with 36 and a quarter points. and wasn't in front of the computer all the time. It was just allowing me to take trades and work my trades a little bit and add it to profits. So that was the scenario today, right? So these big ranging days that are consistently on one side of the market, just have to get your kind of cues in early and make sure you're trading on that side of the market. It never really turned around and really tried to go back the other way. Let's just kind of. I don't think it did. I don't remember anything. See, here's the 3 minute close again, right? I talked about this, right? Our 3 minute moving average, right? It's pretty stout. It's pretty important. I mean, I'm done trading here, but just look at that thing, right? So you need to pick your sides, right? Here's another pretty good breakdown. Here's another pretty high volume here, high probability area, right? See, it rejected the 3 minute moving average back there. It's rejecting the top of the fast zone here. It's breaking down, so that would have been a high probability trade. Even here, right? It's kind of sideways a little bit, right? But it is underneath the fast zone and underneath the EMA. So this is kind of the shaded area there. That would have worked, right? And if let's say it didn't work, let's say you had a bad entry, right, and you didn't get out. Well, you still probably want to hang, not add to it necessarily, but you still want to probably hang in there until you get something like this, and maybe add to it so you can get out earlier, right? Just so here's another one here. It's pulling back up to the EMA, right? It's making new lows, pull back up to the EMA, giving you expansions to the downside. Let me see if there's any others. This one is a little bit far away from the EMA and kind of close to the all session low, so I didn't do that. Same scenario here. I mean, it's bad. I mean, but I was asked to do the higher probability ones, and this is definitely going in that direction, but it's a little bit close. So well, the issue with this one, let me highlight it, is it's potentially going into S3 here, right? So this is S2 up here. This is S3. So while this one kind of looks good, I wouldn't challenge S3 too much, right? So but it goes under S3 and it's maintaining itself under S3, 3 minute, and it won't get back above this 3 minute close, right? So these areas are legitimate. My opinion, it's a little bit higher risk because it's a little bit far away from the EMA, but I think it's okay. And I wasn't really watching. I'm just marking these. So back above, a little bit above 3 minute close, right? But still under the EMA, kind of going sideways, It's kind of going into the all session low, but it's a miserable day in the market. So we're down whole bunches at this point, and so I think these areas are okay, right? We're getting expansions, the flex alignments, so going down again, and I think that's pretty much all I marked. All right, so let me go back and because I don't think I know I never traded long. I don't have any of the trades marked here, right? See, I mean, this is like the second or third time. It finally gets, let's see, I don't think I was trading here. Finally gets above so let's just talk about what this looks like. Okay, so it finally gets above and holds above the 3 minute, right? So in this case, is it going to go to the midline? Maybe, but even here, it's kind of a crossing scenario, and they weren't coming after it with volume. So I would say probably not. I know I did not trade any long, and so it didn't really hold over time, as you can see, and back down it came. Right, this would have been a high probability short in here. So singular mindset. Okay, so you'll be getting the new 3-minute moving average no later than this weekend with the ATR in the arrows. I think the work is pretty much done. I got to get the final compiled versions done. But if you remain a little bit too stubborn, and I know because I've done it myself, if you remain a little bit too stubborn on one side and try to hold it for too long, it can be a bad day. I've had my bad days, right? I have made those judgment calls, and I'm doing them less and less and less and less. And this latest thing is helps me in that analysis with the 3-minute moving average. So you just gotta grin and bear it. You gotta reverse. Sometimes I reverse too late. I'm working on that, right? I'd rather reverse with a little bit of contracts that I'm carrying than fight it and then recognize I'm in deep trouble and reverse with a pretty big loss, right? So that's the scenario. Any questions? Average ATR stands for average true range, right? So average true range has its own definition, but it's really how big of a 3-minute bar is. To put it simple, let's just say from high to low. It's got a little bit more fancy definition than that, but let's just call it high to low. So the calculation takes and stores the high to low, basically the bar range, and then it takes an average of all of those, right? And it calculates, therefore, the average true range. And then it takes that figure, the software then takes that figure, right? And the Keltner channel is based on, wherever the 3-minute moving average is. So it adds that figure, and that's the top line, and it subtracts that figure, and that's the bottom line. That's the Keltner channel. And you can do it on many different time frames and blah blah blah. But and if you remember way back when, right, we had a band of these things based on the 5-minute, right? That was way back when. But I don't think the 5-minute was the right analysis. And now that we've got the 3-minute, I think that's a better analysis. And also waiting for it if you're going to go in the opposite direction. If it gets under that ATR for a long enough period, it is going to come out of it, right? If you want to take a little bit of a counter trend trade, you just have to wait until it's making a 3-minute up bar. It's in the process of making a 3-minute up bar. Even at that, I'm pretty conservative about it. I'd rather just wait, especially on big range days. I'd rather just kind of wait until the trend continues. Any other questions? Yeah, it's good to see you back in the room for a bit. Your activity level ever going to trail off so I can see you in the room a little bit again? Okay, I know your projects are usually pretty big projects, so I know they take a while to do. Alrighty, any other questions? No, I think I scrolled back. I think I scrolled back too far. I was even on the previous day. All right, folks. That'll be it then. Let me get this video processing so I can get it posted. Have a good rest of your night, and we'll see you in the trading room tomorrow morning.